I stood in the marble-floored foyer of the Ashford Hotel in downtown Manhattan, surrounded by 200 people who'd come to celebrate what was supposed to be our engagement party. The chandeliers above us cost more than most people's houses. My parents had flown in from Boston. Her family had driven up from their estate in Connecticut. Everyone who mattered in our circles was there, dressed in designer everything, holding champagne flutes that probably cost $50 each. And that's when Rebecca decided to detonate our entire relationship. "You'd never be a good husband." Her voice cut through the string quartet like a knife. The music stopped. Every conversation died. "I'm not marrying you." She was standing near the ice sculpture, her Versace dress shimmering under the lights, her face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Rage, maybe, or something worse. I felt every eye in that room turn toward us. My chest tightened, but I didn't say anything. I just looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw her clearly. The manipulation, the games, the constant need to be the center of everything. I'd been so caught up in the whirlwind of her world that I'd missed all the red flags waving right in front of my face. I didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't ask her what the hell she was thinking. I just turned around and walked out of that hotel, leaving behind the gasps and whispers and the sound of Rebecca's voice calling after me. My phone started blowing up before I even made it to my car. My mom, my dad, my business partner, Derek, everyone wanting to know what happened, if I was okay, what we were going to do about the situation. I ignored all of it. I drove home to my penthouse in Tribeca, the one I'd bought before I even met Rebecca, and I sat in the dark for hours just trying to process what had gone down. Around 11 that night, my phone buzzed with a text from Madison, Rebecca's best friend since college. "Do you have any idea what happened after you left?" I stared at that message for a solid minute before I typed back, "What?" 3 dots appeared immediately, like she'd been waiting for me to respond. Then came a voice note that was 6 minutes long. I almost didn't listen to it. Part of me wanted to delete everything, block everyone connected to Rebecca, and pretend the last 3 years never happened. But something made me press play. "Tyler, this is so messed up." Madison's voice came through, slightly drunk, definitely emotional. "I can't believe I'm telling you this, but you deserve to know. After you left, Rebecca completely broke down, but not like you think. She wasn't crying because she regretted what she said. She was freaking out because her plan didn't work." I sat up straighter. "What plan?" I said out loud, even though she couldn't hear me. Madison continued. "She's been seeing someone else for months. His name is Garrett. He's some finance bro from her gym. They've been hooking up since last summer. But here's the thing. He's not rich like you, not even close. He's got money, sure, but nothing like your family. Rebecca thought if she blew up your engagement publicly, you'd fight for her. She wanted you to grovel, to prove you loved her, to show everyone that you'd do anything to keep her. She was literally betting on you making a scene, chasing after her, maybe even proposing again right there in front of everyone. She wanted the drama, Tyler. She wanted to be the girl that every guy fights for."
I felt sick, actually physically sick. I put the phone down and walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. How had I been so blind? Madison wasn't done, though. I went back and picked up the phone, and her voice kept going. "When you just walked out without saying anything, she lost it. She started screaming that you were supposed to care more, that you were supposed to fight for her. Her mom had to practically drag her out of there. Everyone was talking about it. Some people felt bad for her, but Tyler, most people were saying you dodged a bullet. My own boyfriend said he'd never seen anything so disrespectful in his life. Rebecca spent the rest of the night calling Garrett, crying about how her plan backfired, how she didn't actually want to break up with you, how she just wanted to test how much you loved her. It's insane. I'm only telling you this because you've always been good to me, even when Rebecca was being a nightmare, and I can't watch her manipulate you anymore. She's planning to show up at your place tomorrow morning with some sob story about how she was overwhelmed and didn't mean it. Don't fall for it, Tyler, please. You deserve so much better than this." The voice note ended, and I just sat there in the silence of my apartment, processing everything. 3 years. 3 years of my life with someone who saw me as a chess piece in whatever game she was playing. I thought about all the times she'd start arguments out of nowhere, then accuse me of not caring enough when I tried to de-escalate. I thought about how she'd flirt with other guys at parties, then get mad at me for being jealous. I thought about how she'd make plans without consulting me, then call me controlling when I pointed it out. Every red flag I'd ignored came rushing back, and I felt like an idiot. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. By the time the sun came up, I'd made my decision. I called my lawyer, James Rothstein, a guy I'd known since Harvard. "I need you to draft something for me," I told him. "A formal statement. I want it clear that Rebecca Hastings and I are no longer in a relationship as of last night, effective immediately. I want it sent to everyone who was at that party, and I want you to start the process of removing her name from everything. My apartment lease, my country club membership, my credit cards, all of it. She's been living off my accounts for 2 years, and that ends today." James was quiet for a second. "Tyler, are you sure? This seems pretty severe." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm absolutely sure. This should have happened a long time ago. I was just stupid to see it." He said he'd have everything ready by noon. Then I called my parents. My mom answered on the first ring. "Tyler, honey, are you okay? What in God's name happened last night?" I told her everything Madison had said. My mom, who'd always been polite about Rebecca but never quite warm, let out a long breath. "I knew that girl was trouble from day one. Your father and I talked about saying something so many times, but you seemed happy, and we didn't want to interfere. Tyler, I'm so sorry you had to find out like this, but honestly, thank God you did. Can you imagine if you'd actually married her?" My dad got on the phone, his voice gruff like always, but tinged with concern. "Son, you did the right thing walking away. That took more strength than staying and making a scene would have. Now you need to stay strong. She's going to try everything to get you back, not because she loves you, but because she can't stand losing. Don't let her back in, not even for a conversation." I promised him I wouldn't. By 10 in the morning, my phone was already ringing. Rebecca. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times in the next hour. Then the texts started coming. "Tyler, please, we need to talk. I don't know what got into me last night. I love you so much. I was just scared. Please don't do this to us." I deleted every single one without responding. At 11:30, my doorman called up. "Mr. Chen, there's a Rebecca Hastings here to see you. Should I send her up?" I could picture her in the lobby, probably looking perfect, makeup done specifically to look like she'd been crying, wearing one of my favorite dresses. "No," I said. "Tell her she's not home, and going forward, she's not on the approved visitor list anymore. If she shows up again, call building security." The doorman hesitated. "Are you sure, sir? She seems pretty upset." I almost laughed. "I'm positive. Thank you." 20 minutes later, Rebecca was blowing up my phone again. "You won't even see me? After 3 years? Tyler, this is ridiculous. I made a mistake and I'm trying to apologize. The least you can do is hear me out."
I finally texted back. Just one line. "We're done. My lawyer will be in touch about the logistics. Don't contact me again." Her response came immediately. "Are you serious right now? You're going to throw away everything we built over one fight? You're being a child." That's when I knew Madison had been right about everything. Rebecca wasn't sorry. She wasn't devastated. She was pissed that I wasn't playing along with her script. I blocked her number. Then I blocked her on every social media platform we shared. Then I sent a text to Madison. "Thank you for telling me the truth. I owe you one." She wrote back right away. "You don't owe me anything. I should have said something months ago. Rebecca's already telling everyone you were abusive and controlling, and that's why she called things off, just so you know. She's doing damage control." Of course she was. I called James again. "I need you to add something to that statement. I want it on record that the relationship ended due to infidelity on Rebecca's part and her public disrespect at our engagement party. I want dates, I want specifics, and I want it airtight. If she's going to lie about me, I'm going to make sure the truth is documented." James warned me it could get ugly. I told him I didn't care anymore. By that afternoon, the statement went out to everyone who'd been at the party, plus a few key people in our social circle. I laid out exactly what happened, including the fact that Rebecca had been cheating with someone named Garrett and that her outburst had been a manipulative tactic that backfired. I kept it factual, kept it professional, but I didn't sugarcoat anything. The response was immediate. Some people reached out to say they'd suspected something was off about Rebecca for a while. Others apologized for not saying anything sooner. A few mutual friends tried to stay neutral, saying there were two sides to every story, but even they admitted that what she'd done at the party was indefensible. And then there was Garrett. Apparently, once word got out that Rebecca had been using him as a side piece while planning to trap me into a marriage, he wanted nothing to do with her either. Madison sent me screenshots of Rebecca's meltdown texts to their friend group. She was furious that I'd exposed her, calling me every name in the book, threatening to sue me for defamation, claiming I'd ruined her reputation. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd tried to humiliate me in front of everyone who mattered, and when I simply told the truth about what happened, she fell apart. My life started to shift after that. I threw myself into my work. I ran a tech consultancy firm that I'd started right out of business school, and we were in the middle of closing a major deal with a healthcare company out in San Francisco. I flew out there for 2 weeks, partly for business, partly to get away from New York and all the drama. While I was gone, Rebecca apparently showed up at my building 7 more times. My doorman, Carlos, started keeping a log because building management was considering a restraining order. She'd stand in the lobby and cry, begging to be let up, saying she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. Carlos told me she even tried to bribe him once, offering him $500 to let her up to my apartment. He refused, obviously, and that's when building security finally banned her from the property entirely. When I got back to New York, I felt different. Lighter, maybe. I started going to the gym again, something I'd stopped doing because Rebecca always complained that I spent too much time there. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with because they hadn't fit into Rebecca's idea of our social circle. I even went on a few dates, nothing serious, just dinner and conversation with women who didn't play mind games or test my loyalty every 5 seconds. It was refreshing. It reminded me what normal relationships were supposed to feel like. Meanwhile, Rebecca's life seemed to be imploding. Madison kept me updated, even though I never asked. Rebecca had lost several friends who were tired of her drama. Her parents were apparently furious with her for blowing up such a good match and had cut her allowance in half. The guy she'd been cheating with, Garrett, had started dating someone else and posted about it all over Instagram, which sent Rebecca into another spiral. 3 months after the engagement party, I ran into her at a charity gala in the Hamptons. I almost didn't go because I knew there was a chance she'd be there, but my mom convinced me I shouldn't let Rebecca dictate my life. She was right. I walked in wearing a custom Tom Ford suit, feeling more confident than I had in years, and there she was by the bar, looking thinner than I remembered, her eyes a little too bright, her smile a little too forced. She saw me immediately and started walking over. I considered leaving, but then I remembered my dad's words. She can't stand losing. I wasn't going to let her the satisfaction of seeing me run.
"Tyler," she said, her voice soft, almost pleading, "can we talk, just for a minute?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret, just nothing. "There's nothing to talk about, Rebecca." She blinked, like she hadn't expected that response. "I just want to apologize for everything. I've been going to therapy, working on myself. I know I messed up, and I'm sorry. I miss you." I took a sip of my drink, keeping my expression neutral. "I'm glad you're working on yourself, genuinely. But we're done. That's not changing." Her face shifted, the vulnerability dropping away for just a second, revealing something harder underneath. "So that's it? You're just going to move on like I meant nothing to you?" I set my drink down on a nearby table. "You meant a lot to me, Rebecca. For 3 years you were everything, but you treated me like I was disposable, like my feelings didn't matter, like I was just there to play whatever role you needed me to play in your life. And when I didn't perform the way you wanted, you tried to humiliate me in front of everyone we know. So yeah, I moved on, and I'm not looking back." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, she just turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor. I watched her go, and I felt a sense of closure I didn't know I needed. Later that night, Madison found me on the terrace overlooking the ocean. "That looked intense," she said, handing me a fresh drink. I shrugged. It was a long time coming. She smiled. You know, I always thought you were too good for her. I'm glad you finally figured it out. I laughed. Better late than never, I guess. Madison and I talked for a while, about life, about relationships, about what came next. She told me she'd ended her friendship with Rebecca a few weeks earlier, that the constant drama and manipulation had become too much. She's not a bad person, Madison said, but she's not a good person either, you know? She's just broken in a way that hurts everyone around her. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. A year later, I was in a completely different place. I'd sold my consultancy firm for an amount that made even my parents' eyes widen. I'd started traveling, something Rebecca had always complained about because it took time away from her social calendar. I spent a month in Japan, 2 weeks in Italy, a week hiking through New Zealand. I met people, had experiences, remembered who I was before I'd gotten lost in someone else's expectations. And then I met Sarah. She was a doctor working at a clinic in Brooklyn, dedicating her life to helping underserved communities. She didn't care about designer labels or country club memberships or who had the biggest penthouse. She cared about making a difference, about being genuine, about building something real. We met at a friend's wedding, and I knew within 5 minutes of talking to her that this was different. Sarah and I took things slow. After Rebecca, I needed slow. I needed someone who didn't play games, who said what they meant and meant what they said. Sarah was that person. 6 months into dating, I told her everything about Rebecca, about the engagement party, about the manipulation and the cheating and the aftermath. She listened without judgment, then said, "That must have been so hard, but I'm glad you walked away. It shows you know your worth." That was the moment I knew I was falling in love with her. Not because she felt sorry for me, but because she understood that walking away had been an act of self-respect, not weakness. Rebecca found out about Sarah through social media, of course. Madison warned me that she'd been asking about my new girlfriend, trying to dig up information, looking for any excuse to insert herself back into my life. I wasn't surprised, but I also wasn't worried. Rebecca couldn't touch what Sarah and I had because it was built on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect, things Rebecca had never understood. One night, Sarah and I were having dinner at this little Italian place in the West Village when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was Rebecca. "I saw you're with someone new. I hope she knows what she's getting into. You were never as perfect as you pretended to be." I showed the text to Sarah, half expecting her to be upset or concerned. Instead, she laughed. "That sounds lovely," Sarah said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Are you going to respond?" I deleted the text and blocked the number. "Not worth it." Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. "Good, because she's your past, and I'm really hoping I'm your future." I smiled, squeezing her hand. "You are."
Looking back now, that night at the Ashford Hotel was the best thing that ever happened to me. Rebecca thought she was punishing me, thought she was teaching me a lesson about how much I needed her. Instead, she set me free. She showed me exactly who she was, and I finally had the clarity to walk away. The manipulative mind games, the constant tests, the emotional roller coaster, I was done with all of it. And in walking away, I found myself again. I found my self-respect, my boundaries, my understanding of what I actually wanted in a partner and in life. Rebecca had spent 3 years trying to mold me into whatever version of a boyfriend fit her narrative at any given moment, and I'd let her because I thought that's what love looked like. But love isn't about control or manipulation or public displays of dominance. Love is what I have with Sarah. Easy, honest, supportive, real. Sometimes I wonder if Rebecca ever figured out what she lost, if she ever stopped playing games long enough to realize that the best thing in her life walked away because she couldn't appreciate it while she had it. But then I remember that people like Rebecca don't change unless they want to, and wanting to change requires a level of self-awareness she never demonstrated. She's probably moved on to her next target, some other guy who'll fall for the charm and the beauty and the excitement before he realizes he's being played. I hope, for his sake, he figures it out faster than I did. As for me, I'm planning to propose to Sarah next month. We're going to Big Sur, just the two of us. No elaborate party, no performance for social media. Just two people who love each other, making a commitment to build a life together. And this time, I know it's real.